All right, for the next and last session before the lunch break, and by the way, this is the moment to swap in and out. I think you see folks at the back, come and find your seat. We have a session on degenerative AI. Any idea what that means? No, I don't either. So I very much look forward to having Matthew Blakemore, CEO of Caramba, on stage to introduce the Fireside Chat speakers. A warm welcome for Matthew.
Come here.
Righty-ho. Thank you very much. I think we'll wait for the seats change to occur before we kick things off. There's a lot of movement going on at the moment. Ooh, water, yes please. That would be awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so yes, today I am joined by two esteemed panelists to discuss this question of degenerative AI and what are the opportunities to move beyond the constraints of LLMs. Now I could introduce these people myself, but I'm going to be lazy and I'm going to say, can you please introduce yourself? Keith, starting with you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Keith Griffin. I'm a Cisco fellow and Vice President for Machine Learning and AI Technology Direction. I'm based in Galway in Ireland, where we develop the WebEx app and a bunch of other technologies, and generally focus on investments, mergers, acquisitions, and building the technology that you might see if you're a user of video conferencing in WebEx today, and delighted to be here to talk to you about this topic.
Fantastic. And Mumtaz, you were just on stage, so some people may already know who you are, but pretend they don't, and please do introduce yourself again.
Mumtaz Vauhkonen, Director of AI. I lead multimodal AI initiatives in Verizon, a lot of generative AI, and been in this space for a while. Background is a research degree in machine learning, worked for multiple companies, Intel, couple of automotive companies on autonomous vehicles, and finally telecommunications, understanding the flow of data through networks. So because that's where AI starts. So trying to bring AI across the networks.
Thank you very much. Well, I guess the first thing, before we go into the set questions, I think the quick question I have for you is, what do we mean by degenerative AI? Keith, do you want to take this one quickly?
Yeah, although I don't have really a good answer on it. I was baffled by the title initially when I saw it also. But I think that it's what we've got to focus on is generative AI is a huge amount of capabilities and potential. There's also a lot of risks. There's also a lot we've got to look out for to navigate towards that. So that was my interpretation of the title, is focusing on the risks to make sure we're focusing on the key pieces of generative AI and not degenerative AI.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And Mumtaz, what's your opinion of this title?
So degenerative AI is a new domain emerging. Like, as we build a lot of agentic systems, a lot of AI that talks to AI and handles a lot of data creation, where we are creating a lot of synthetic data, where data is handled between AI systems automatically without human interference there. The quality of data tends to skew towards that where the probability is higher for the AI models. And from that perspective, the AI training also will get skewed. So from that aspect, degenerative AI is emerging, so that there is always a human in the loop validating the data, and the concerns of AI biases through data are removed. So that's my understanding of degenerative AI, and we implement multiple things in order to overcome that. I think your questions are focused on those aspects today.
Exactly, yes. So. And with that in mind, first of all, we're going to talk about real-time data and LLMs. And the thing is, over the past year, with LLM adoption really increasing significantly, I think we've had this kind of awakening of the idea of the potential limitations and how we can overcome them. Because initially there was just this furore, oh my goodness, I can talk to AI. And then now it's how can we actually use this in proper workflows? So you've been doing a lot of work around real-time media data and how it can be utilized effectively with LLMs. Would you like to talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, sure. Over a year ago, we introduced the concept of a real-time media model to complement large language models. Up to that point, what we were seeing was really that when people talked about generative AI, they were talking about large language models, and they were talking about that largely in the context of text. Of a prompt that I could write, send in, get a response of some sort. Maybe I'm summarizing something, maybe I'm creating something, but it was all heavily text-based in that first wave. And because we're focused on video conferencing systems and audio conferencing, we can act on the text like a meeting transcript or something like that, and we can see huge potential for it. But to get to the text, you had to go through speech, or you might go through some video. So with that in mind, we focused on much smaller models, which are real-time media models. An example of that might be, let's say I wanted to get a summary of this conversation that we're having right now. But it's not lost on me that everybody is wearing earphones, and that's because there's tons of noise in the environment. So we developed, beyond the state of the art at the time, noise removal models. So a real-time media model that could remove noise and enhance speech. So now the signal going to the LLM is much stronger.
Yes.
The accuracy is stronger. So you start avoiding, or at least reducing, the garbage in, garbage out effect to the LLM. So it's not necessarily limitations of the large language models themselves, more a complementary view as to where we could apply real-time media models. And then also from an enterprise and a privacy perspective, our customers like the fact that this is kind of on the edge. So you could remove the noise at the microphone where it's happening. It's not a cloud system. There's not a question about where's my data going. So again, I could talk for hours on that alone, but it's maybe a concise view as to just one example for where a real-time media model can make a difference when complementing a large language model.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant that people are integrating other AI models to improve the outputs of LLMs. I think it's definitely the direction that we're all headed in.
Exactly. I mean, Mumtaz talked earlier about like multimodal. There's multimodal as well, where you have like multiple models working together. We see these types of pipelines more and more. It's a very interesting area.
Fantastic. And Mumtaz, you've been doing a lot of work on knowledge graphs and how they can enhance LLMs. I wondered if first of all, you'd like to talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, so the typical pipeline has been the RAG pipeline, done in multiple ways, multi-layers to improve the precision of the response, right? Reduce hallucination and increase the accuracy of the output. So what we have noticed is graph RAG patterns where we are seeing some benefits for certain type of use cases. Graph do have an overhead in creating it. You have to spend more time generating graphs, but for certain use cases, especially in our situation, let's say we have a lot of devices, lot of promotions, lot of plans, and if a customer wants to know what is the ideal thing for them, what is the ideal promotion that their device qualifies for, then a standard RAG pattern falls really, really short of the response, because a device can qualify for multiple promotions, or multiple promotions can be applied for accessories. So to be precise with that, once we put things in a graph, the response was much more precise and correct. We saw a lot of increase in accuracy there. And another example is these long documents that we work with, the contracts, the long manuals, long technician manuals. If you start feeding that into LLM, oftentimes these things are based on semantic similarities and retrieval systems. So the content happens to be similar across devices, across technical Samsung devices versus Ericsson devices. Then putting these documents in a graph, parses out that content ambiguity and gives a more precise retrieval input for the model to respond back on. The chunks are more clear based on the document and the IDs that we can retrieve to put into the model.
So it's about optimizing the data that is retrieved by the model to produce the answers.
Yeah, what we feed in as a context to the model, standard RAG versus graph RAG. Graph tends to be more precise in retrieving because the way you organize the document, let's say we have a document of 400 pages long.
Yes.
That could be like 50,000 chunks or 100,000 chunks. How do we organize that in a clear, structured format?
Yeah.
If you just dump that whole in a big vector store, the retrieval is not as accurate as you put in a graph.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so at the moment, is a lot of that being done manually? And would you anticipate that as we move forward, you'd be able to utilize more AI tools to kind of do that initial knowledge graph.
But we are already automating that.
You're already automating
you
it.
can
Fantastic.
train an LLM to build the graph for you.
Yes, yeah.
You can teach the the structure of the graph, and then it itself can build the graph for you.
So you're using LLMs to optimize the data that will then go into the LLM to deliver the result.
Yes, that's what, like stacking up models to do your tasks,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
And on the topic of stacking up models, I'd like to kind of come back to this whole multimodal question, because obviously your presentation was on multimodal. I know you've done a lot of work in multimodal, and it's really quite the hot topic, because if you look today at ChatGPT, it is a multimodal ecosystem. And you'll see some posts on LinkedIn where people have asked a question to ChatGPT and it's not responded effectively, and they've gone, oh, they've lied about the quality of it. Well, actually, maybe they didn't ask the right question. Maybe the prompts needed to be directed at some of the additional models surrounding ChatGPT, because the initial LLM isn't the right model within that ecosystem to actually respond. And so I think we're seeing increasingly multimodal, but not necessarily public awareness of it. So what's your thoughts on multimodal?
Well, we've very specific focus on multimodal because I'm sure, since COVID, all of us learned first to work from home or work remotely, and now maybe it's great, that so many of us are back in person, but we're finding that in a high percentage of meetings, there's always people remote.
Yes.
So in my world, multimodality is all about how we apply that to meetings, communication, and collaboration. And if you think about what that is, right, when you join a meeting, generally you're on video, you're on audio, somebody maybe shares their screen or there's some chat. So the modalities are video, audio, text, and then a content share, which is another video stream. So the opportunity presented by multimodal AI is high. It's extremely high for us. There's so much that we can do. In some cases, maybe just literally bound by our imaginations. And as you mentioned, some systems, like we saw GPT-4o come along, which is multimodal in nature. I just see such massive opportunity for new use cases that we haven't been able to do so far. I'm not sure we would follow the strategy of all of that in one large model. Like I mentioned earlier, we might choose some real-time media models combined with large language models, either for privacy or for performance in that way. But some of the examples you could have in mind would be, say you're visiting, this for me is a new location, a visit here, and let's say I leave my backpack in a conference room somewhere. So being able to ask an assistant in the collaboration system, where's my backpack? And it can find it by the camera that's in that room and some other inputs, because it can do scene interpretation and object detection as a video modality based on the question that I asked in voice that converted to text. And all the modalities are in action, but could totally be solved by this type of solution. Another one that we have talked about and I've worked with some customers on for hybrid work are things like anti-camping detection, right? So people show up at the office, put down their backpack, go have some coffee, meet some friends. But now the meeting room is in use all of the time solely because of a backpack stating a claim to that space. So what if you could detect that there is no face, because we have face detection. So what if we have no face but equipment or something there and the room is not booked? Is that okay? Can you notify the last person that was in there? Again, scenarios around hybrid work and workspaces that bring together the best of multimodal, and all enabled by large language models and media models to make that happen.
Yeah, so we're in the office less, but it's about optimizing the time when we are actually in the office.
Exactly, and also for what purpose are we in? Maybe it's to collaborate more, maybe we're meeting, so we don't want to take up spaces unnecessarily doing that.
Of course.
And we can use all forms of multimodal AI to just help with that.
And Mumtaz, what's your view on multimodal? I know you've done your presentation, but where do you think it's heading? Do you think we're going to see more multimodal coming into the next 12 months?
Yes, I mean, it depends on the problem space, right? Certain problems are solved best with incorporating multiple types of data, exactly the way humans make decisions. Sometimes all you want to hear is the sound. Sometimes all you want to just know how good the food is just smelling it, right? But sometimes you want multiple things. Hey, how does that look as well? So depending on the use case, for example, one of the use cases, the technician troubleshooting thing, it so much cuts down the technician's time when they have access to the videos too. And ask a question, pulls up and say, this is the steps, 3-step in a video. Or a customer has a new device, iPhone 16 came out, and then they want to go to the website to troubleshoot. How do I do CarPlay settings like this? A simple video query on our website will help the customer bring right to. They don't have to browse through 10 pages reading the documents. Just a query will bring up. So the multimodal features, I think, are the way to go for many things. Similarly, I'm new in Amsterdam. Morning, it took a while for me to figure out, okay, some people said use Bolt, some people said Uber. So those kind of scenarios, I can just point my location to the phone and say, hey, take me to this place. I'm here. You know, the recommender system can take multiple inputs and provide that. So, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's quite interesting how, you know, I've seen recently there's been new multimodal solutions for people who are not necessarily technical to actually be able to code effectively. And obviously we've seen built into Anthropic's Claude model that ability, and ChatGPT to an extent, but now you've got Repli and others that are providing even more advanced tools for people to kind of break down the barriers of complex technical work. And is that a space both of you think that multimodal will move into as well, kind of taking down the barrier access to these complex AI models?
So the end goal is productivity, right?
Yes.
So what can we automate quickly that can release human time to focus on more important things?
Yeah.
In the task related to work, task related to daily life. So looking from that perspective, optimizing those pieces is the first layer. And wherever it brings back business benefit are the applications that will come into play in the beginning. It may not be those societal things that will bring a lot of value to society, but it'll be more about what adds business value, what brings money quickly to the companies. That's where you will see these applications coming in.
Coming back to the business objectives, which is a vital thing that many businesses forgot when they implemented generative AI in the first place. So I'm glad that it's coming back to viewing the business objectives as a core driver of why they're doing things.
And if you think about that in a communication setting, I think an area prime for disruption with generative AI and also with degenerative AI, using your definition, is contact center and customer care. I designed those systems for 15 years before joining Cisco and have had 17 years there. Many of the technology issues that were around in the 90s, 2000s are still technology issues. Lots of advances have happened, but generative AI actually enables solutions for most of those. Like why do we still wait in a queue? Why do I not just connect it to a virtual agent right away? Why is the agent not assisted by capabilities that can accelerate them and help them along solving whatever that customer issue is, whether it's sales or support or whatever it might be? And we're all over those technologies, and the whole industry is right now. But I think that's a really good example of where, and in this case, degenerative AI can help, because you don't want a lot of that human in the loop. You want it to figure out, well, what's the call about? You don't want to have to train on customer data or to train over and over again. You want it to figure that out with techniques like zero-shot learning and various other things that it can. So that it just solves the problem. And you made the point, it's just about productivity and getting to the outcome in your example, not having all of these complex steps along the way.
And I think that naturally brings us on to talking more a little bit about AI agents. And I've read a lot about these AI agents that people are currently developing that they expect to hit the market in the next 12 to 18 months, and the impact that will have on society and businesses. So do you want to say a quick something, Mumtaz, about that?
Yeah, I mean, if a quick definition of AI agents here, like agentic systems are those where on top of these generative AI models, we put an orchestration layer where an agent is communicating with multiple portions of the application, right? There could be software modules that are not AI related, but this agent is able to access them. At the same time, get output out of them, feed that into LLM, or if a prompt is asked, it knows correctly, like among these 10 LLM applications running in this domain, which one should I direct the prompt to? So these are the agentic systems. So more and more you see that these agentic systems cut down a lot of manual effort, a manual pipeline building and maintenance of these modules. These agentic systems can create their own memory space, be able to efficiently use other systems as tools, be able to self-reflect. I retrieved this output. How good is this output? Let me validate my own output. You can have agents do that also. It's called a reflective pattern. So a lot of these techniques these days are enhancing the productivity in multiple ways, and you will see agentic systems doing more and more things. More and more effective ways of identifying product. Just this conference, for example, optimizing the organization space. You can implement an agentic model here. Identify where is the crowd moving, where is this, let me allocate more resources here. So an agentic system can quickly give input to via orchestration. So you will see a big, rapid expansion of that into every AI space. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think we've touched on a lot of really core principles and the interesting factor of multimodal combined with these agentic systems. We could see some real progress over the next 12 months within businesses. I guess for me, the big takeaway here is getting back to actually looking at business objectives when implementing these tools, because I think a lot of businesses who have not seen the value is because they didn't follow the standard product management rules around Gen AI. They kind of got very excited about it. They were like, right, we need to do it, and didn't always think about what they wanted to get out of it. And so to get the most out of this technology, if everyone takes away one thing from this panel, I hope it's to get back to business objectives, think about how these tools can benefit you, and also think about how to get the most out of them for your particular use case. Thank you so much to the panelists. You've been brilliant, and hope you enjoyed the panel. Thank you.
Thank you.